I found my daughter living on the street and froze. Yesterday she had a home, but today her husband sold it, moved to Europe 2 years ago, and left her with nothing. I brought my daughter home and did what would finally make my son-in-law pay. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you are listening in the comments. The taxi pulled onto Southeast Hawthorne Boulevard just as the drizzle turned serious. I paid the driver, grabbed my overnight bag, and stood on the sidewalk staring at the house. Ellen's house, the one her grandmother left her. Pale blue siding, white trim, that crooked maple in the front yard I remembered from photos she'd sent me years back. 3 years since we'd spoken. 3 years since that argument when I told her Travis was no good and she'd told me to stay out of her life. I'd been stubborn. She'd been stubborn. We were related after all. I walked up the porch steps, rehearsing what I'd say. Something simple. "Ellen, I'm sorry. Can we talk?" The doorbell chimed inside. Footsteps approached. The door opened. A woman I'd never seen stood there, a toddler balanced on her hip. She had red hair pulled into a ponytail, yoga pants, suspicious eyes. "Can I help you?" she asked. My throat tightened. "I'm looking for Ellen Crawford, my daughter. She lives here." The woman's expression shifted from caution to confusion. "I'm sorry, but we bought this house 2 years ago from a real estate company. There was no Ellen." The bag slipped from my shoulder. "That's impossible. This was her house. Her grandmother left it to her." "I don't know anything about that." She adjusted the toddler, who was staring at me with enormous brown eyes. "We closed escrow in March of 2023. Everything was legal and proper." I pulled out my phone, fumbled through photos until I found it. Ellen standing right here on this porch 5 years ago, holding up the house keys and grinning. I showed the screen to this stranger. "That's the same house," I said. My voice sounded far away. "Same address, 2847 Southeast Hawthorne?" The woman softened slightly. "I'm sorry, I really am. But this is our home now. Maybe you could try calling her?" She closed the door gently. I heard the deadbolt click. I stood there breathing the damp February air, trying to make sense of it. Sold, Ellen would have told me, wouldn't she? Even angry, even after 3 years of silence, she'd have mentioned selling her grandmother's house. Movement caught my eye. Next door, an elderly woman was watering potted plants under her covered porch, watching me with open curiosity. I walked over. "Excuse me, I'm Ellen Crawford's father. Do you know where she is?" The woman set down her watering can. "Oh my, you're Ellen's father? I'm Dorothy Patterson. I live here." She gestured at her house. I remember Ellen, such a sweet girl, played piano beautifully. "When did you last see my daughter?" Mrs. Patterson frowned, thinking, "Oh, must have been winter of 2023. They left sudden-like. House went up for sale right after. I thought maybe they moved for work." "They? You mean Ellen and her husband?" "That Travis fellow, yes. Nice enough, but something always seemed off about him." She studied my face. "You didn't know they left?" I shook my head, unable to speak. "I'm sorry, dear. I assumed family knew. It all happened so fast. 1 week they were there, the next week there was a realtor sign in the yard." I thanked her, walked back to the sidewalk, and called an Uber to take me to the nearest hotel. My hands shook as I typed Ellen's number. It rang once, then an automated voice. "The number you have dialed is no longer in service." I tried again. Same message. The hotel room was generic and beige. I sat on the edge of the bed and dialed Ellen's number 17 more times. Always the same recording. Finally, I opened my laptop and searched Portland property records. There it was. 2847 Southeast Hawthorne Boulevard. Sold January 28, 2023 for $420,000. Buyer listed as Westbrook Family Trust. I checked Ellen's Facebook. Last post, December 2022. A photo of Christmas lights. Her email bounced back. Account inactive. The window overlooked a rain-slicked street. I stood there watching headlights blur past and felt the first wave of real fear. Not confusion anymore. Fear. I called Portland Police non-emergency line. "I need to report a missing person," I said. The operator was patient. How long has this person been missing? I don't know, maybe 2 years. 2 years? Sir, why are you just reporting this now? Because I was proud, because I was angry, because I let an argument keep me from my daughter for 3 years. We'd been out of touch, I said. I just discovered she's gone. The operator took Ellen's information, said someone would call me back. I hung up and pulled out my wallet. Inside was Ellen's last birthday card to me from 4 years ago. Her handwriting, "Love you, Dad, even when we disagree." I called the hotel front desk. I need to extend my reservation, indefinitely. How many nights, sir? However long it takes. I spent the next 3 hours searching online. Portland homeless shelters, community aid centers, hospital emergency rooms. My cursor hovered over each link. This was the last place any father wants to look for his daughter, but I clicked anyway. Franklin High School looked exactly as Ellen had described it years ago. Brick building, green trim, basketball court, visible behind chain link fence. I'd been awake since 5 that morning, drinking hotel coffee and making lists, places to call, questions to ask. My shirt was rumpled from sleeping in the chair. The front office smelled like copy paper and industrial cleaner. A young secretary with glasses looked up from her computer. "I'm looking for Ellen Crawford," I said. "She taught music here." Recognition flickered across her face, followed quickly by discomfort. "Oh, Mr. Crawford, Ellen left in 2022. I'm sorry, we don't have contact information for former staff." I leaned forward, keeping my voice level. "Did she say where she was going? Was there an emergency?" "She just resigned. September, I think. I wasn't here for all the details." The secretary glanced at her computer screen like she was looking for an escape route. "I'm sorry, I can't help more." I thanked her and left. Outside, the drizzle had stopped, but the sky remained the color of old concrete. The next 2 days blurred together. OHSU Hospital, no patient records for Ellen Crawford. Legacy, Emmanuel, nothing. Providence, Portland, the same. I filled out missing person inquiry forms at 2 police stations, showing Ellen's photo to board officers who promised to file reports, but whose eyes said they'd seen this before. Each dead end pulled the knot in my chest tighter. On the 3rd day, I drove through East Portland with a printed list of community centers and shelters. The streets grew rougher as I moved southeast. Chain link fences, boarded windows, tents clustered under highway overpasses. Around noon, I turned onto Southeast 82nd Avenue. The Community Outreach Center was a squat brick building with a hand-painted sign. 20 people stood in a line outside, waiting for the lunch service to begin. I almost kept driving. Then something made me look closer. A woman near the middle of the line, thin, shoulders hunched in a donated jacket 3 sizes too large. The way she held herself, protective and defeated at once. I knew that posture. I'd seen it in home videos from Ellen's childhood when she was scared but trying to hide it. I parked and walked toward the line, got closer, saw the profile of her face. It was Ellen. My daughter was standing in line for free food. I approached carefully, heart hammering. "Ellen?" She went rigid, didn't turn. "No, wrong person." I moved where she could see me. "Ellen, it's Dad." Her face went white as paper. She tried to turn away. "Go away, please." "I'm not going anywhere, not this time." She broke then, deep, wrenching sobs that made her whole body shake. I wrapped my arms around her and she collapsed against me, all bones and trembling. She smelled like street dirt and desperation. And I wanted to kill someone. People in line shifted awkwardly, giving us space. I guided Ellen to my rental car, got her into the passenger seat, cranked the heat to maximum, handed her my jacket even though she protested weakly. We sat there while she cried. I didn't ask questions, just waited. Finally, her voice came out broken and small. "He sold it. Travis sold the house. Forged my signature on the final papers." "When?" "January 2023. Took all the money. Left me $3,000. Said he was going to Europe for business." She laughed bitterly. "He never came back." My hands tightened on the steering wheel. "You've been on the street for 2 years?" "I couldn't call you. Not after our fight. Not after I chose him over your warnings." Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. I was so ashamed. I drove to a furnished apartment I'd seen advertised near Powell Boulevard, paid first and last month in cash. The landlord asked no questions. The studio was small but clean. Bed, kitchenette, bathroom with a shower. I unpacked groceries while Ellen stood in the doorway looking lost. "This is yours for the month," I said. "We'll figure out something longer term soon." "Dad, I can't afford—" "You're not paying. This is what I should have done 3 years ago. I'm so sorry for everything." I set down the bag of apples, looked at her directly. "Save your apologies. You didn't do anything wrong. He did, and he's going to answer for it." I showed her the shower, left clean towels folded on the bathroom counter, made her promise to eat the sandwich I'd bought. Then I drove back to my hotel. That night, I didn't cry, didn't rage. I opened my laptop and began searching. How to trace financial fraud, asset recovery legal options, property fraud prosecution, Delaware LLC registration database. I created a spreadsheet, timeline of events, what I knew, what I needed to find out, old audit habits kicking in like muscle memory. At 2 in the morning, I stared at the screen, multiple tabs open, Oregon property law, fraud statutes, attorney directories, pages of notes in my neat handwriting. Ellen was sleeping 3 blocks away in her first real bed in 2 years. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I felt something sharper, colder. I saved a document titled Travis Henry, Asset Investigation, and closed the laptop. Tomorrow I'd start making calls. Tomorrow, the hunt would begin. 1 week had passed since I'd found Ellen in that line. 7 days of buying her groceries, making sure she ate, watching color return to her face. But I wasn't just playing caretaker. Every morning while she slept, I worked. The county clerk's office smelled like old paper and floor polish. Ellen's hands shook as she signed the request form for a certified copy of her marriage certificate. "That's me," she said, voice small. "I'm the wife." The clerk barely looked up. "Property deed for Southeast Hawthorne address will be $25, 10 business days." I leaned forward. "We can pay rush processing. We need these soon." 3 days later, the documents arrived. I spread them across Ellen's apartment table, photographing each page with my phone. Marriage certificate showing Ellen Crawford married to Travis Henry, June 2019. Property deed listing Ellen as heir to her grandmother's house, transferred December 2020. Everything documented, everything provable. I spent 2 evenings researching Portland family law firms, read case histories, checked bar association records. My audit training made me thorough. I narrowed 3 candidates to 1. Corey Wilson, specializing in fraud cases. His office was downtown, 10th floor, glass walls overlooking the Willamette River. Corey Wilson was 42, sharp-eyed, with the careful attention of someone who'd seen too many lies. He listened to Ellen's story without interrupting, examined the documents I'd organized, then he delivered his assessment. "This is textbook fraud," he said. "Forged signature, unauthorized sale of community property. But here's the problem. Your husband is in Portugal?" Ellen flinched. "Ex-husband. I mean, we're still married legally, but legally married means legally entitled to half that house." Corey cut through her confusion efficiently. "He stole from you, but Portugal doesn't extradite for civil fraud." I leaned forward, pen poised over my legal pad. "So, we can't touch him?" "I didn't say that. Civil suits don't require extradition. We go after his assets in the U.S., if he has any." Driving back, Ellen stared out the window at gray Portland drizzle. "Maybe it's hopeless. Maybe he made sure there's nothing left to find." "People always think they're cleverer than they are," I said, "especially people like Travis." "What do you mean?" "I spent 30 years finding money people tried to hide. He's not special. He's just greedy, and greedy people make mistakes." That evening in my hotel room, I opened my laptop, started searching. Travis Henry plus Portland. Travis Henry plus real estate. Travis Henry plus Portugal. Found his LinkedIn profile. Managing partner, Cascade Properties Group. Investment opportunities, strategic acquisitions, the language of someone playing businessman. Last activity, January 2023. The month he vanished. I clicked through to the company page, generic website, stock photos, contact form that probably went nowhere. But the company existed. That meant corporate registration. That meant public records. The Delaware Division of Corporations database loaded slowly. I typed Cascade Properties Group, LLC. There it was, registered March 2022, 10 months before he sold Ellen's house. Single member, Travis Henry. Registered agent address in Wilmington, Delaware. I sat back, pieces clicking into place. March 2022. Travis hadn't just stolen impulsively. He'd created a company nearly a year before executing the theft. Planned it, prepared for it. Spent months setting up the infrastructure to hide stolen money. I pulled up Google Maps, searched the registered agent address, mail forwarding service, not a real office, classic shell company setup. I had seen hundreds of these during my IRS career. People thought corporate structures made them invisible. They were wrong. I opened a new spreadsheet, created columns, date, action, evidence source, notes. Started filling it in. March 2022, LLC registration. January 2023, house sale. February 2023, Travis relocates to Portugal. A timeline of premeditated theft. My phone buzzed. Text from Ellen. Thank you for today, for everything. I texted back, get some rest. Tomorrow we keep digging. But I didn't rest. I pulled up the Delaware Registered Agents website, found their phone number, called. I'm inquiring about Cascade Properties Group, LLC, I said. Can you confirm the current mailing address? The voice on the other end sounded bored. We're registered agent only. We don't have client information. I understand. Is there a secondary contact listed? Sir, we can't disclose that without proper authorization. I thanked them and hung up. Hadn't expected cooperation. But now I knew they'd logged the call. Travis would receive notification someone was asking questions. Good. Let him wonder. I opened two browser windows side by side. Left, Cascade Properties Group, LLC registration, March 2022. Right, Travis's LinkedIn profile, last activity January 2023. Timeline matched perfectly. Travis had planned this months before executing. I had seen this pattern before in tax evasion cases. Create shell company, funnel money through it, hide assets behind corporate veil. But shell companies have bank accounts, and bank accounts leave trails. I closed the laptop, but didn't sleep. Tomorrow, I'd make more calls. Tomorrow, I'd find where Travis hid the money. 2 weeks later, I sat in a coffee shop near Powell's Books, reading the private investigator's report for the third time. $2,500, worth every penny. Richard Moss arrived exactly on time, sliding into the booth across from me with his own folder. Former forensic accountant turned PI. I'd chosen him carefully. Your son-in-law thought he was clever, Richard said, spreading photocopied bank statements across the table. Delaware LLC, corporate veil, offshore transfers. I slid my cold coffee aside, pulled on my reading glasses. But he left money behind. $180,000, business checking account at Bank of America. Richard used his pen to circle figures on the printout. Hasn't touched it in 2 years. I studied the statements. Account showed zero activity since February 2023, except monthly maintenance fees. No payroll, no vendor payments, no investments. Dead account holding, stolen money. Why? I asked. Why leave it exposed? Richard leaned back. Best guess? Portugal taxes foreign income heavily. He declares the transfer, loses 30% to taxes. Keeps it here, it's invisible to Portuguese authorities. I traced the money flow with my finger. $420,000 from house sale went to LLC's Delaware account. Then split, $240,000 wire transferred to Portugal. $180,000 stayed put. Greed and caution, I said quietly. Fatal combination. Back in my hotel room, I spread Richard's report alongside my own research, created a new timeline. LLC registered March 2022. House sold January 2023. Money transferred February 2023. Travis relocated Portugal, February 2023. All account activity ceased March 2023. Perfect sequence proving premeditation. This wasn't marital breakdown leading to desperate act. This was calculated theft executed over 12 months. I photographed each page of Richard's report, uploaded everything to encrypted cloud storage, chain of custody, evidence protection, old audit habits. The next morning, I brought Ellen and the full report to Corey Wilson's office. Ellen looked steadier now. 3 weeks of regular meals, safe housing, her father's support. She sat straighter. Corey reviewed the bank statements, registration documents, timeline. His expression shifted from professional interest to genuine satisfaction. "This changes everything," he said. He left assets in U.S. jurisdiction. "Can we freeze the account?" I asked. "Better. We can petition the court to seize it as proceeds of fraud. Ellen's entitled to half that house minimum. That's $210,000. The LLC has $180 sitting there." Ellen's voice came out tight. "What if he moves it before we can stop him?" "We file today. Request emergency restraining order. If the judge grants it, that account freezes immediately." 3 days later, we met Corey at Multnomah County Courthouse. Ellen signed the complaint papers. Her hand hovered over the signature line for a moment. Then she looked at me and signed firmly. The clerk processed our filing. Civil complaint, fraud and property recovery. Filing fee is $278. Corey handed over his credit card. "We're also requesting emergency TRO for asset freeze. Judge Nakamura is hearing emergency motions this afternoon. You'll need to wait for review." I touched Ellen's elbow. "This is it. First real step." We sat in the hallway for 4 hours. Ellen read a magazine without turning pages. I made notes on my legal pad. Corey checked his phone periodically. Finally, his screen lit up. He read, then looked at us with a thin smile. "Judge granted it. Account is frozen effective immediately." Ellen's breath caught. "So he can't touch the money?" "Not $1. Bank of America will receive the court order by end of business today. That $180,000 is locked down." I asked the question we were all thinking. "How long until he knows?" "Bank will notify LLC's registered agent, probably within 48 hours. Then he'll know someone's coming for him." We walked out of the courthouse into March sunshine. Ellen looked different, lighter, standing straighter. She turned to me. "What happens now?" I watched traffic flow down Broadway. "Now we wait. The bank will notify Travis's registered agent. Could be 2 days, could be 3. Then he'll know his money is frozen." Ellen's face hardened slightly. Good. Anger was better than shame. "Will he call?" she asked. I considered. "Probably. Men like Travis always think they can talk their way out of consequences." I met her eyes. "Let him call. We're ready." We walked toward the parking garage. Behind us, inside the courthouse, our case folder joined hundreds of others in a file room. But I knew something those other cases didn't have. A defendant who left a trail of evidence and $180,000 sitting in plain sight, just waiting to be taken back. 4 days later, Ellen's phone rang at 6:47 a.m. I sat across from her at the small kitchen table, coffee cup halfway to my lips. We'd been waiting for this call. Knew it would come once Bank of America notified Travis about the frozen account. Unknown international number, Portugal country code. Ellen stared at the screen. Her hand trembled, reaching for it. I nodded once. She answered, tapped speaker mode. "What do you think you're doing?" Travis's voice exploded through the speaker, loud enough to make Ellen flinch. "You froze my business account." I placed my hand over Ellen's, steadying her. "Your business account?" Her voice shook but held firm. "You mean the money you stole from our house?" "I didn't steal anything. That was our joint decision. I never signed those papers. You forged my signature." "You're lying." His voice rose higher, losing control. "I'll sue you for defamation. Ellen interrupted him. "Tell it to the judge, Travis." "Ellen, wait." She hung up, sat there breathing hard. Then her thumb moved to the screen, hovered over block contact for 1 second before pressing down firmly. "You did well," I said. Her hands were still shaking. I wanted to scream at him, ask him why, how he could do this. Would it have changed anything? She looked at me. No, nothing he says matters anymore. Good. Remember that feeling when he calls again. Because he will. Later that morning, back in my hotel room, I made another call. To Johnson at the IRS Portland office. We'd worked together for 15 years before I retired. Crawford? Been what? 4 years? Thought you disappeared completely. Mostly fishing and visiting family, I said. Speaking of which, I'm in Portland helping my daughter with something. Came across an interesting situation. Official interesting or just interesting? LLC registered in Delaware, operating address in Oregon. No tax filing since 2023, but active bank account with 6 figures. I kept my tone casual, bureaucratic. Thought your office might want to know. His tone changed immediately. Send me the details. We'll take a look. That afternoon, I met with Corey Wilson. We prepared the information package together. LLC registration documents, bank account evidence, timeline showing 2 years of no business activity, no tax filings, just $180,000 sitting dormant. Corey sealed everything in a manila envelope marked for IRS review. IRS doesn't investigate every tip they receive, he said. They investigate credible tips with documentation. I've given them both. If they open a case, Travis faces criminal exposure, not just civil penalties. He's been hiding assets and dodging taxes for 2 years. I met his eyes. He earned criminal exposure. Corey studied me. Just making sure you understand, this raises the stakes considerably. Good. Let him sweat. 3 days later, the court order arrived. I was checking email for the dozenth time when the notification appeared. I opened it, read it twice, then printed 3 copies. Multnomah County Court grants preliminary injunction freezing Cascade Properties Group. Assets pending fraud hearing scheduled May 15th. Bank of America confirms account locked. No withdrawals, transfers, or closures permitted. I filed the original in my expanding folder, gave 1 copy to Ellen, kept 1 for myself. That evening, Travis called again from a different number. Ellen and I watched it ring through to voicemail. His recorded voice came through desperate instead of angry. Ellen, please, we can work this out. I'll pay you back, I promise. Just drop the court case. Please call me. I deleted the message. Ellen nodded approval. What happens now? She asked. We were standing at her apartment window, watching evening traffic. Now we wait. Travis knows his money is frozen, knows someone's coming for him. Her face hardened slightly. Good. Anger was better than shame. Will he keep calling? Probably. Men like Travis always think they can talk their way out of consequences. I met her eyes. Let him call. We're ready. 2 weeks passed. Ellen started working part-time at Portland Music Academy. I organized evidence for the May hearing. We fell into a routine. Then Corey called, voice tight. Travis hired a lawyer in Portland. Big firm, expensive. They just filed counter-motion. I sat up straighter at my hotel desk. What kind of counter-motion? Papers rustled through the phone. They're claiming Ellen signed everything voluntarily, saying she had substance abuse issues, alleging the sale was legitimate marital decision and the LLC freeze is improper restraint on legitimate business entity. I felt a cold spike of anger. First time my control had cracked. Not because Travis was fighting back, because he was lying about Ellen, attacking her character. When's the hearing? May 10th, 5 days before our fraud hearing. They're trying to get the freeze lifted first. I ended the call, stared at the wall. Travis just made this personal. The next morning, Ellen sat across from me, reading her copy of Travis's counter lawsuit. 23 pages of professionally crafted lies. Her hands shook. Not with fear this time, with rage. He's saying I'm a drunk? Her voice rose. That I agreed to sell my grandmother's house for his business venture? I haven't had more than wine at dinner since college. I watched her carefully. This anger was good, but it needed to be channeled, not let loose. She kept reading, face going white. He claims I was enthusiastic about the sale, used the money for personal expenses, then blamed him when I relapsed. She crumpled the pages violently, threw them across the room. I picked them up, smoothed them flat on the table, refusing to let anger make me sloppy with evidence. "We need to see Corey," I said. "Today." An hour later, we sat in Corey's office. He'd already reviewed Travis's filing. "Standard defensive strategy," he explained. "Attack plaintiff's credibility, claim everything was consensual, shift blame. Problem is, we're in he said, she said territory. Judge hasn't met either of them. Travis has expensive lawyer, making him look responsible. Ellen has been homeless 2 years. Ellen started crying. First time since I'd found her. Not sad tears, angry tears. "I'm being punished for what he did to me." "No," I said. "We prove he's lying, not with words, with evidence that can't be disputed." Corey leaned forward. "The signature. If we can prove it's forged, his whole story collapses." "Handwriting expert," I said. "How expensive? $1,500 to $2,000 for court-admissible analysis. Find me the best one available." That evening, I called Dr. Patricia Chen, certified forensic document examiner, 15 years experience, federal court testimony. "I'll need multiple examples of your daughter's authentic signature from different time periods," she said. "We have marriage certificate, employment documents, estate papers, at least 10 samples." "Good. Different contexts help establish natural writing patterns. Analysis takes 10 to 14 days. The hearing is May 10th. Can you have report ready by May 5th? If I prioritize it, but my fee is $1,800 for expedited analysis with testimony availability." I didn't pause. "Done. When do you need the documents?" The next 3 days, Ellen and I gathered everything. Marriage certificate from 2020, old employment contracts, bank account opening forms, grandmother's estate papers where Ellen signed as heir, 10 clear examples of her natural signature. I packaged them with the disputed sale documents, delivered everything to Dr. Chen's office personally. Then we waited. Ellen returned to work but stayed distracted. I checked email constantly, old audit habit resurfacing under pressure. May 10th approaching like a deadline I couldn't extend. Travis's lawyer sent additional motions, requesting expedited hearing, claiming frozen account caused irreparable business harm. Corey fought back with briefs detailing the LLC's complete lack of legitimate business activity. Both sides preparing for battle. Late April, the email arrived. Subject line: "Analysis complete, report attached." I sat in my hotel room, cursor hovering over the PDF. Moment of truth. Downloaded it, opened it. First page conclusion: "In my professional opinion, to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty, the signature attributed to Ellen Crawford on the property sale documents dated January 2023 is not genuine. Evidence indicates simulation, shoe forgery rather than natural handwriting." I read the sentence 3 times, then called Ellen. Dr. Chen sent the report. And definitive forgery. She found 12 separate indicators of simulation. "It's not your signature." Long pause on the other end. "We can prove it? Actually prove it?" "In court, under oath, with scientific evidence. Yes." Her voice broke with relief. "He can't talk his way out of this." "No, he can't." May approached fast. Corey and I prepared for the 10th. Dr. Chen agreed to testify if needed. I reviewed her report nightly, memorizing every detail. Indicators of forgery include unnatural tremor and stroke pattern, evidence of multiple attempts at letter E, inconsistent pressure suggesting tracing rather than natural writing, scientific language that would demolish Travis's claims. Ellen seemed steadier now. Having proof helped. But I knew the real test came in 5 days. Travis's expensive lawyer would fight, try to exclude expert testimony, argue procedural technicalities, claim anything to protect that frozen $180,000. I sat in my hotel room with my calculator open, running numbers. If we won the May 10th hearing, the freeze stayed in place. If we lost, money could vanish before the fraud hearing on May 15th. 5 days between hearings. Narrow window for Travis to move assets if he got an opening. I made a note. Emergency backup plan needed if we lose first hearing. Couldn't assume victory. Never assume victory until the judge's gavel fell. May 15th, Multnomah County Courthouse, 9 a.m. Ellen and I sat with Corey at the plaintiff's table. Across the aisle, Travis's attorney Marcus Bergman arranged his expensive briefcase, adjusted his expensive tie. The video monitor flickered on. Travis's face appeared from Portugal. First time I'd seen my son-in-law in 3 years. First time since he'd destroyed my daughter's life. Judge Nakamura entered. All rise. Dr. Chen took the stand first. Projected signature comparisons on the courtroom screen used a laser pointer to trace the evidence. Authentic signatures show fluid, confident strokes, she explained. This signature shows hesitation marks, unnatural tremor, inconsistent pressure, classic signs of simulation. Bergman cross-examined aggressively. Couldn't stress or illness cause signature variations? Minor variations, yes. Dr. Chen didn't waver. But this shows systematic differences across 12 measurable criteria. That's not stress, that's forgery. Ellen testified next. Sat in the witness box with hands folded, spoke clearly into the microphone. Did you sign documents authorizing the sale of your house? Corey asked. No, I didn't even know the house was being sold until after it happened. Where were you when the sale took place? Travis told me we were refinancing for better rates. He said he needed me to sign some papers, but I never saw final documents. He must have forged those later. Judge Nakamura looked at her directly. Mrs. Henry, where did you go after your husband left? Ellen's voice stayed steady. I had nowhere to go. I lived in my car for 3 weeks. Then the car broke down. After that, shelters. Sometimes the street. I watched Travis's face on the monitor. He shifted uncomfortably, whispered to someone, off camera. Judge Nakamura didn't take long to decide. This court finds defendant committed fraud through forgery and misappropriation of community property. She looked at the video monitor. Mr. Henry, you will pay your wife $420,000. The LLC account provides partial payment. You have 90 days for the remainder. Travis started to speak. Your Honor, I don't have... That's not this court's concern. You found money to flee to Europe. Find money to compensate your victim. Next case. We walked out into May sunshine. Corey was satisfied. Complete victory. Everything we asked for. Except Travis doesn't have $240,000, I said. Court will enforce. If he doesn't pay, we can pursue international asset seizure, garnishment. He has an apartment in Portugal. What's that worth? I'll file for discovery of foreign assets. Force him to disclose what he owns. Good. Let's make sure he has nowhere left to hide. That afternoon, back at my hotel, I received an email from Corey. Forwarded IRS letter addressed to Travis Henry and Cascade Properties Group. Official investigation opened. Demands for tax returns 2023-2024. Estimated tax liability $55,000. Penalties and interest approximately $20,000 additional. Warning in bold. Failure to respond within 30 days may result in criminal referral. I sat with my calculator and legal pad, made lists. Travis owes Ellen $420,000. Travis owes IRS approximately $75,000. Total obligations $495,000. Known assets $180,000 in frozen LLC account going to Ellen. Remaining gap $315,000 that Travis must produce somehow. His only substantial asset left was the Portugal apartment. The trap was closing. 1 week later, Corey called. IRS Criminal Investigation Division issued arrest warrant for Travis Henry. Willful failure to file tax returns, tax evasion. If he enters U.S. territory, he'll be arrested at customs. I read the notice twice, felt cold satisfaction. Travis could never come home. Early June, an email arrived from a Portuguese attorney requesting settlement negotiation. Formal, polite, but I read desperation between the lines. Client wishes to resolve all outstanding obligations amicably, proposes payment plan acceptable to all parties. I forwarded it to Corey with one line. Not interested in negotiation, full payment, or enforcement. Travis was scrambling now. Court judgment gave him 90 days to pay $240,000. IRS gave him 30 days to respond to investigation. Both deadlines approaching. He had to sell his Portugal apartment. No other way to raise money. I checked international real estate sites, found listings in Lisbon. Average sale time, 3 to 4 months. Travis didn't have that long. The pressure was working exactly as planned. 3 weeks passed. Mid-June now, summer heat settling over Portland. I'd moved from the hotel to a month-to-month furnished apartment, started a temporary routine, breakfast with Ellen twice weekly, meetings with Corey monitoring Travis's compliance, long walks along the Willamette River. Then Corey called with an update. Travis listed his apartment in Lisbon for €150,000. Also, his attorney filed motion requesting extension on payment deadline, claims he needs time to liquidate assets. I sat on my apartment balcony, phone to ear. "What did you tell them?" Corey's voice was satisfied. "I told them we'll consider extension only after IRS matter is resolved and he's paid the $180 from the LLC account." "How long until that money actually reaches Ellen?" "Bank processing, maybe another week." Progress, slow but real. Late June morning, Corey forwarded another email from Travis's Portuguese attorney, Antonio Silva. Professional letter proposing mutually beneficial resolution. Travis pays Ellen $100,000 immediately from personal savings. She withdraws civil judgment. Both ask IRS to close investigation. The letter emphasized Travis's difficult financial situation and desire to make amends. I read it twice, deleted it, called Corey. "Settlement proposal," I said. "He's offering $100,000 for release of all claims. He owes $445 just to Ellen, another $75 to IRS. He knows, that's why he's negotiating. He can't pay the full amount. That's not my problem." My voice was cold. "He found money to buy a European apartment and live there 2 years. He can find money to pay what he owes. What should I tell his attorney? Tell him we'll see him in enforcement proceedings, full payment only." 2 days later, Ellen and I filed additional claim for emotional distress. $25,000 for 2 years of homelessness, anxiety, loss of livelihood, damage to professional reputation. Judge reviewed it quickly. "Causation is clear. I'll award $25,000. She checked her notes. "Mr. Henry now owes $445,000 total?" "Correct, Your Honor," Corey said. He should have thought about this before committing fraud. Following week, formal notification arrived from IRS criminal investigation. Arrest warrant active in federal database. Charges: willful failure to file tax returns, tax evasion. Potential sentence 1 to 5 years. Federal prison plus fines. Warrant shared with Interpol, Customs and Border Protection, all U.S. ports of entry. I read the charge sheet carefully. This wasn't civil penalty anymore. This was felony criminal prosecution. I monitored Portuguese real estate sites weekly. Travis's apartment listing was visible. 2-bedroom apartment, Alfama District, $150,000. Motivated seller. 6 weeks, no sale. I researched the Lisbon market. Average sale time currently 3 to 4 months. Travis was asking fair market value, but buyers were cautious. Time wasn't on his side. Early July, Antonio Silva called Corey directly. I listened on conference line. His tone had changed. No longer confident, now pleading. "My client will liquidate everything, apartment, car, savings. Might raise $180,000 total. Please, can we reach agreement?" I answered directly. "Tell your client Mercy was when my daughter slept in doorways for 2 years while he lived comfortably in Europe on her stolen inheritance. He'll pay every cent or lose everything trying." Silva tried again. "You're not willing to show any flexibility, any compassion? Tell your client this. When my daughter was sleeping in doorways, did he show compassion? When she was eating at soup kitchens, did he show flexibility? He gets exactly what he gave her, nothing." After the call, I walked along the Willamette River, hands in pockets, watching the water flow. Ellen asked me later if Travis actually understood what he'd done to her. "No," I told her. "Men like Travis never really understand. They understand consequences, not guilt. That's why consequences matter. Late July, heat waves settled over Portland, temperatures hitting mid-90s. I sat in my air-conditioned apartment reviewing Corey's latest update. Travis's apartment finally had a potential buyer. Offer pending at $140,000, below asking price. Travis desperate enough to accept. Sale might close late August, maybe September, if paperwork dragged. Meanwhile, the court's 90-day payment deadline was August 15th. Travis wouldn't make it. Corey was preparing contempt motion for non-payment. IRS hadn't responded to Silva's plea for leniency. Federal prosecutors don't negotiate tax evasion charges. I calculated. Even if the apartment sold at $140,000, roughly $154,000, Travis would still be short approximately $365,000 after paying Ellen. He'd be functionally bankrupt. No home, no money, couldn't return to U.S., criminal fugitive. I closed my laptop, stood at the window. Ellen was building a new life. Travis was watching his collapse. Justice didn't always feel triumphant. Sometimes it just felt necessary. Tomorrow I'd call Ellen, take her to dinner, remind her how far she'd come. This wasn't about celebrating Travis's destruction. It was about witnessing his accountability. August arrived with news I'd been expecting. Corey called early morning, voice urgent. Travis's apartment sale fell through. Buyer backed out over inspection issues. I stood on my apartment balcony, phone pressed to ear, watching joggers pass on the street below. When? Yesterday. Antonio Silva just notified me. Travis is panicking. Payment deadline is in 2 weeks. August 15th. The court had given Travis 90 days to pay the $240,000 balance. Time was up. What happens if he defaults? I asked, though I already knew the answer. We file for contempt. Court can order asset seizure, wage garnishment, arrest warrant for civil contempt if he ever returns to U.S. soil. I felt no satisfaction, just the cool certainty of watching a plan unfold exactly as designed. File for contempt the day after deadline passes, I said. Don't give him extensions. The trap wasn't just closing anymore, it was sealed shut. August 15th arrived hot and clear. Corey and I walked into the courthouse at 9 a.m. sharp, carrying the contempt motion in a manila folder. The building smelled like floor polish and recycled air. We'd been here so many times over the past months that the security guards recognized us. The clerk stamped our filing with practice deficiency. Contempt of court for failure to satisfy judgment. Hearing scheduled August 28th. I photographed the stamped copy with my phone. Documentation. Always documentation. Before we'd even left the building, Antonio Silva sent a frantic email. I watched Corey read it on his phone in the courthouse lobby. Client securing new buyer, needs 1 week extension, Corey read aloud. I looked at him, shook my head once. No extensions? He typed back. Client had 90 days. See you at contempt hearing. We walked out into August heat. I felt the weight of the folder under my arm. 7 months of work, distilled into legal paper and court stamps. Within 48 hours, everything changed. Antonio notified us Travis had accepted an offer. $135,000, 15,000 euros below his original asking price. The new buyers were a young Portuguese couple who'd sensed desperation and pressed their advantage hard. Closing scheduled for August 22nd, Corey told me over coffee at our usual cafe. Fast track, he's liquidating everything to avoid contempt jail time. I pulled out my notepad, did the calculation I'd done 100 times already. After paying Ellen's balance, IRS debt, legal fees, and closing costs, Travis would have approximately $18,000 left. $18,000 from a $420,000 theft. He's functionally bankrupt, Corey observed. Yes, I said simply. He is. Late August, the wire transfers began processing. International transfers move slowly, require multiple verifications, pass through banking systems like water through layers of filter. I tracked each one obsessively. $240,000 from Travis's apartment sale proceeds, combined with the earlier $180,000 from the LLC account and $25,000 emotional distress judgment, Ellen would receive $445,000 total. I sat with her at her bank branch while we waited for the final transfer to clear. She watched the screen like it might disappear if she looked away. The numbers updated. Balance, 445,000 scars. $445,000, she whispered. It's really there. Her hands were shaking, not from fear this time, from the sheer weight of seeing justice converted into numbers on a screen. Your grandmother's house was worth $420, I said quietly. The emotional distress award was $25, every penny you're owed. She stared at the screen for a long moment. It feels strange, like it shouldn't be about money. It's not about money, I told her. It's about him paying the cost of what he did. Money is just how courts measure accountability. It's the only language the system speaks. She nodded slowly, still staring at that number. Simultaneously, IRS received their $75,000. Payment processed, debt technically satisfied. But when I called Corey to confirm, he delivered the news I'd been waiting for. Payment doesn't erase the criminal conviction, he said. I just got off the phone with the IRS Criminal Investigation Division. And Federal Criminal Database, permanent flag on Travis Henry. Any background check, employment, housing, credit, will show tax evasion conviction. He can't work legally for U.S. companies, can't obtain security clearances, can't enter the country without immediate arrest. Travis had built his own prison, one with no walls, no bars, just borders he could never cross and a digital record that would follow him forever. That evening, I created a final spreadsheet. Old habits. Everything needed to be documented, verified, closed out properly. Travis's apartment sale, $135,000 at August exchange rate, roughly $148,500. Minus Ellen's remaining balance, $240,000. Minus IRS payment, $75,000. Minus Antonio Silva's legal fees, approximately $8,000. Minus Portuguese real estate closing costs, roughly $5,000. Travis's remaining funds, $18,500. He'd started with $420,000 stolen from Ellen. 8 months later, he had less than 5% of it left. He'd lost his home, his savings, his ability to return to America, his professional future, his clean record. I saved the spreadsheet in my Crawford V. Henry folder, closed my laptop. The numbers told the complete story. Early September, Portland's weather shifted. That first hint of autumn in the air, leaves beginning to turn. I helped Ellen move into her new apartment. 2-bedroom in Laurelhurst, tree-lined street, safe neighborhood, walking distance from her music school job. The kind of place she should have had all along. We carried boxes up the stairs together. Her things were modest. She was starting over after all. But each box represented something real. Kitchen supplies, clothes that fit, books, a small TV, bedding for an actual bed. Ellen stood in the empty living room after we'd brought the last box up. Sunlight streamed through windows, illuminating bare hardwood floors. Tears ran down her face. "I have a home again," she whispered. I squeezed her shoulder, felt her lean into the touch. Sometimes silence is the best response. Sometimes presence is enough. 2 days later, I was helping her unpack kitchen boxes when her phone rang. Blocked international number. She looked at the screen, then at me. Her face went pale. I nodded. "Answer it. Get closure." She put it on speaker, set the phone on the counter between us. Travis's voice came through broken, unfamiliar. Nothing like the confident man who charmed Ellen years ago. This voice was hollow, defeated. "Ellen, please, I've lost everything. My apartment, my savings, my car. I'm living in a room with 3 roommates, sleeping on a mattress on the floor. I can't work in America anymore. I can't go home. I have nothing left. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Tell me what I can do to make this right." Ellen listened without interrupting. I watched her face, saw emotions flicker across it like shadows. Anger, pity, exhaustion. Finally, resolution. When she spoke, her voice came out steady and cold, stronger than I'd ever heard it. "You lost money and a comfortable life, Travis. I lost 2 years sleeping on concrete. I lost my dignity, my health, my sense of safety. I lost the ability to feel safe anywhere. You lost things. I lost myself. Travis started to speak. But I'm not finished, Ellen cut him off. You spent my inheritance while I ate at soup kitchens. You lived in a nice apartment while I wondered if I'd survive winter. You made choices. Now you live with consequences. We're not even close to even, Travis. But I'm done now. I'm finally done. She ended the call with a single decisive tap, then immediately went into her phone settings and blocked the number permanently. She looked at me. I'm done. I nodded. Yes, you are. We went back to unpacking dishes. Neither of us mentioned the call again. There was nothing left to say. Late September, Ellen's 35th birthday. I arrived at her apartment carrying a cake from the local bakery on Burnside and a bottle of sparkling cider. Ellen had never been a drinker despite Travis's lies about substance abuse, and I respected that. She opened the door smiling, a genuine smile that reached her eyes and transformed her face. 8 months ago, she'd barely made eye contact. Now she met my gaze directly, confidently. The apartment behind her looked lived in now. Photos on walls showing her with colleagues from the music school, books on shelves, a mix of business texts and music theory. A piano keyboard in the corner that she'd been practicing on daily, plants on the windowsill, thriving under her care. Come in, Dad. I have something to show you. She led me through the apartment, pointing out small improvements she'd made, curtains she'd hung herself, a bookshelf she'd assembled, a small dining table where she had breakfast every morning. Then she took me to a corner of the living room she'd converted into a home office. Small desk, good lamp, laptop open with course materials visible. On the wall above the desk, pinned neatly, acceptance letter from Portland Community College. Business management certificate program, she explained, voice bright with pride. Starts in January. I've already bought the textbooks, started reading ahead. I picked up one of the books, Introduction to Small Business Operations. I want to open my own music school someday, she said. Small one, focused on kids whose families can't afford private lessons. I was thinking about it. I had advantages Travis took away. But there are kids who never had those advantages to begin with. Maybe I can help them. Using what happened to help others, I said. Trying to? She smiled, softer this time. Feels better than just being angry. The anger was necessary, I think. But I don't want to live there forever. We cut the cake. 2 pieces on mismatched plates she'd bought at a thrift store. She'd told me once that building this life from small pieces felt more real than having everything at once. We carried our plates to her small balcony overlooking the residential street. Autumn evening was settling in, that golden September light that makes everything look gentler. My phone chimed. Email from Corey, subject line, final case summary, Crawford vs. Henry. I opened the attachment, began reading aloud. Judgment satisfaction confirmed. All $445,000 paid to Ellen Crawford. Travis's bankruptcy petition denied due to fraudulent conveyance ruling. IRS permanent flag notation. Criminal record active in federal database. Case closure order dated September 18, 2025. Ellen listened quietly, fork halfway to her mouth. When I finished, she set down her plate. So it's really over, she said. It's over. She was quiet for a long moment, looking out at the street below. A couple walked past pushing a stroller. Normal life, ordinary evening, the kind of scene she'd been excluded from for 2 years. Dad, she said finally, choosing her words with care. Thank you, but not for the obvious things. Not just for the money or the lawyers or finding me. I waited. Thank you for teaching me I didn't have to accept what Travis did, that I deserved to fight back. That justice isn't just something that happens to other people in courtrooms on TV. Her voice caught slightly. I spent 2 years thinking I deserved what happened because I'd chosen wrong, married wrong, trusted wrong, like it was divine punishment for bad judgment. It wasn't, I said quietly. I know that now. You showed me the only person who deserved consequences was him. That's... She paused, wiped at her eyes. That's worth more than the money. That's worth everything. My throat tightened. I didn't trust myself to speak, just reached over and squeezed her hand. She squeezed back. We sat in comfortable silence as the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Portland evenings in September are beautiful. I'd learned that over these months. Later that evening, alone in my own apartment, I pulled out the thick folder labeled Crawford v. Henry case documents. I flipped through slowly, reviewing the journey documented in paper and ink. That first photo of Ellen's grandmother's house, the one I'd shown to the stranger who answered the door back in February. Marriage certificate proving Ellen's legal rights. Dr. Chen's forensic report with its precise scientific language about pressure points and hesitation marks. Court judgments, each one a step forward. IRS letters with their bureaucratic certainty. Final closure notice stamped and official. I didn't need to keep these anymore. The case was closed, but I would keep them, not as trophy. I'd taken no pleasure in Travis's destruction. As reminder that systems work if you understand them, that patience and precision matter more than anger, that justice is possible, even when it feels impossible. I closed the folder carefully, filed it on the shelf between my tax records and other important documents. Just another file in a life of files. Corey's email had included one final update, an addendum I'd requested for completeness. Travis Henry's current situation, verified by the Portuguese investigator we'd used earlier in the case. Living in Alfama district, Lisbon's oldest neighborhood. Shared apartment with 3 other people, mostly other service workers, sleeping in the smallest room, the one without windows. Working as waiter at a tourist restaurant near Rossio Square, earning approximately $200 monthly, barely enough for rent, food, basic necessities in an expensive European city. No savings left, no vehicle, no prospects for improvement. U.S. criminal record prevented legal employment with any reputable international company. His business management degree from an American university was now useless. The conviction made him unemployable in corporate environments. He was stuck in the service industry, likely permanently. Every day pouring wine and clearing tables, watching tourists enjoy the city on vacation, money while he scraped by. Every day reminded of what his greed had cost him. I read this report without satisfaction or pity, just acknowledgement. Consequences had arrived exactly where they belonged. Next morning, I met Ellen for breakfast at our neighborhood cafe. We'd developed this routine over the past month, meeting Thursday mornings before her work shift, sharing coffee and conversation. The cafe was warm, smelled like fresh bread and espresso. We sat in our usual booth by the window. Ellen looked different than 8 months ago. Not just physically healthier, though she'd gained weight, had color in her cheeks, moved with energy instead of exhaustion. But something deeper had changed. She was present now, engaged with life instead of just enduring it. "What will you do now?" she asked, adding cream to her coffee with practiced ease. "Go back home? Stay in Portland?" I'd been thinking about this question for weeks. Haven't decided yet. Maybe stay nearby for a while. We have time to figure it out. No rush. "You know you don't have to stay for me," she said. "I'm okay now. Really okay." "I know you're okay. That's exactly why I might stay." I met her eyes. "Not because you need me, because I want to. Because we lost 3 years, and I'm not eager to lose more." She smiled, that genuine smile that still surprised me with its brightness. "I'd like that. Having you nearby, we could do this breakfast thing regularly. Maybe I could cook dinner for you sometimes. I'm learning, slowly." "I'd like that too." We were quiet for a moment, watching morning traffic through the window. A bus stopped across the street, passengers getting on and off. Ordinary life flowing around us. "Do you think Travis really understands what he did?" Ellen asked suddenly. I considered the question. Doubt it. Men like Travis understand consequences, not morality. He knows he lost everything. Apartment, money, career, country. Probably doesn't truly grasp why what he did was wrong, just that he got caught and punished. "Does that bother you? That he might not really get it?" "No," I said honestly. Justice isn't about his understanding. It's about your recovery and his accountability, both achieved. What happens in his head is irrelevant. Ellen nodded slowly, processing this. "Think he'll ever try to contact me again?" "Maybe. Block him if he does. He had his chance to apologize meaningfully, to show genuine remorse. That time has passed. I know, she paused. I just wondered if you'd say I should forgive him. You know, for my own peace or whatever. Forgiveness is your choice, not my business, I told her. But here's what I learned in 30 years of audit work. Forgiveness doesn't require contact. You can forgive someone and still maintain complete boundaries. You can let go of anger without letting them back into your life. Those are separate decisions. She smiled slightly. When did you get so wise? 30 years finding hidden money teaches you about human nature, about consequences and choices. We finished breakfast slowly, in no rush. Walked out into September sunshine together. Ellen headed toward the music school. I headed back to my apartment. 8 months. Started with that taxi ride to Southeast Hawthorne Boulevard, standing on a porch where a stranger answered the door. Ended with case closed, justice served, daughter restored, not revenge. I'd never wanted revenge. Revenge is about inflicting pain for its own sake, about making someone suffer because you can. This was different. This was about balancing scales, taking back what was stolen, making someone pay the actual price for actual harm done, using systems designed for exactly this purpose. I thought about Travis in his Lisbon apartment, working tables, sharing cramped space with strangers, starting over at 38 with nothing. I thought about Ellen in her apartment here, planning classes, teaching music, building a future, helping kids who needed it. The difference between them was simple and complete. She'd lost everything through someone else's cruelty and betrayal. He'd lost everything through his own choices and actions. That's what justice looks like. Not satisfaction, not triumph, not pleasure in another's suffering, just proper consequences arriving where they belong. I walked home through tree-lined streets, hands in pockets, breathing autumn air. Portland had become familiar over these months. I knew these streets now, these cafes, these parks where I'd walked while thinking through strategy. I felt something I hadn't felt in 3 years, something that had been absent since that argument with Ellen, since I'd let pride and anger keep me away when she'd needed me. Peace. My daughter was safe. Our relationship was restored and stronger than before. The man who hurt her had faced real, lasting accountability. That was enough. That was everything. The folder on my shelf would stay there, documentation of a journey that had ended exactly where it needed to. Ellen would build her life, open her music school someday, help kids who needed help. Travis would work his tables and live with his choices. And I would stay in Portland a while longer, have breakfast with my daughter, watch her life bloom, be present for the ordinary moments that matter most. Justice served. Not with a bang, but with quiet certainty. That was exactly right. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.